The chair was still spinning when I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't even shut it all the way. I just walked out, quietly, like I had rehearsed it 1,000 times in my head, even though I hadn't. She was laughing when I grabbed my keys. Not like it was a joke. Like she won. Like my silence confirmed everything she ever suspected about me. I'd never fight back. Never challenge her. Just fold, like a weak corner in her perfect little life. 15 minutes before that, I was microwaving leftover meatloaf. She sat on the counter in gym clothes she hadn't sweated in, drinking lemon water and swiping on her phone like she was solving a crisis in the Pentagon. When I asked her if she still wanted to go to my sister's baby shower this weekend, she blinked twice and said, and I quote, "God, you're so predictable. I could replace you in one day. Easy. No build-up. No sarcasm. Just surgical brutality." Like she had that line holstered all week, waiting for the right moment to destroy me with maximum efficiency. I looked at her. She didn't flinch. That's when I realized she wasn't bluffing. She meant it. So I said 5 words. Not because I'm brave, but because I was too numb to come up with anything smarter. "Let's see you try then." That was it. No suitcase. No dramatic goodbye. Just my wallet, phone, and jacket, which I later realized still had a dry cleaning tag from a wedding we never went to. How poetic. I drove with no destination, ended up parked in front of a closed tire shop off Route 15. Sat there for 2 hours with the engine running. I didn't cry. I just stared at the steering wheel like it owed me an explanation. She didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't even send a "So, are you serious?" message. That night, I slept in the car. The next morning, I brushed my teeth at a 24-hour gas station using a bottle of Mountain Dew and a crumpled napkin. The cashier gave me a free donut. Pity donut, probably. Day 2. I stayed with a guy I hadn't spoken to since high school. He let me crash on his couch in exchange for helping him carry an old refrigerator down a flight of moldy stairs. I didn't care. Manual labor felt better than thinking. Day 3, I saw something that broke me. But I'll get to that. This isn't a story about a guy who got cheated on and cried into his soup. This is about what happens when the person you thought you knew dares you to leave, and then chokes on the silence you leave behind. 7 days. That's all it took for her world to collapse. And when she finally called, sobbing, begging me to come back, I didn't even pick up, because by then, I knew everything. On the morning of the 3rd day, I woke up to sunlight cutting through the cheap blinds of Curtis's guest room, which wasn't a real room, just a mattress on the floor behind a curtain in his laundry nook. I had a kink in my neck and a voicemail blinking on my phone. Not from her, of course. Still radio silence from the woman who proudly declared I was replaceable like I was last year's iPhone. The voicemail was from a number I didn't recognize. Just a woman's voice, unsure, fast-talking, a bit breathless. "Hey, is this Darv? Sorry, is this you? I know this is weird, but I think you should know what's going on with Retta." I sat up. My heart did this weird lurch like it wanted to escape my chest and walk away from this mess altogether. I played it again, this time louder. Curtis poked his head in, holding a slice of cold pizza. I waved him off and stepped outside barefoot, pacing the gravel like it didn't hurt. Who the hell was that? A friend? A coworker? One of those yoga class acquaintances she kept accidentally adding to our shared calendar? I called the number back. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Who are you? What do you know about Retta?" No response. Not for hours. I told myself it was probably nothing. A scam. Maybe someone trying to stir the pot. But that little knot in my gut, the one that had been tightening for months, wouldn't go away. Out of boredom and something darker, I checked her social media. That's when the second stomach punch hit. Her profile photo had changed. Gone was the one of us at Lake Greenwell last summer. Me with raccoon sunburn lines, her with fake laughing eyes. The new photo? Just her. Full glam. Wine glass. Mirror selfie. Captioned, "New chapter. Unbothered." Unbothered. The woman who said nothing as I walked out the door. The woman who hadn't sent a single message in 3 days. The woman I had planned to spend the rest of my ordinary life with. I scrolled. A few photos from some rooftop lounge, a place we had once joked was too loud and full of people who say vibe check unironically. Now she was there, dressed like a music video backup dancer, holding hands with a guy whose face was half cropped out. And the comments? Heart emojis. Yas Queen Fire. Finally living for you. Was about time, girl. Was about time. Curtis found me pacing again, holding my phone like it was radioactive. He didn't say anything, just handed me coffee in a chipped mug that said, "World's okayest employee." I drank half of it, and then the text came in. The number from earlier. I can't say much, but she's not who you think she is. She's been planning this. Ask her about Theo. That's all I'll say. Theo? The name meant nothing to me. But the moment I read it, my skin went cold, not because I recognized it, but because I didn't. And in a marriage, the scariest names are the ones you've never heard before. I Googled it. I searched her tagged photos. I checked our shared credit card statements online. And that's when the crack widened into a canyon. A restaurant charge from 2 nights ago. Expensive. At a seafood place I can't afford without budgeting 3 weeks. 2 entrees. 1 dessert. Champagne. I was sleeping in the back of a tire shop, and she was ordering lobster bisque with someone named Theo. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared. Because when a man who's always been invisible realizes he's finally been replaced, not in theory, but in action, something inside him doesn't just break. It dissolves. By the 4th day, I had officially become one of those guys who stalk their own marriage from the outside. I was deep into a rabbit hole I didn't even know existed, going through old iCloud backups, checking timestamps on photos, cross-referencing things I never cared about before. I felt like a private investigator who was emotionally compromised and terribly underqualified. Curtis left for work that morning and tossed me a spare house key without saying anything. He was never much for words, and honestly, I appreciated the silence. All I needed was Wi-Fi, strong coffee, and a reason not to drive back to the house and start screaming in the driveway. That morning, I typed Theo into our shared calendar. Nothing. Then I typed it into my iCloud account, which still had a sync to Retta's old iPad, the one she used to leave on the kitchen table, claiming it was just for recipes and YouTube yoga. There it was. Theo, 2 p.m., the den. That entry was from a month ago, hidden in a folder called Wellness. Buried like a secret no one expected to be unearthed. My stomach dropped. The den wasn't a gym or a cafe or some feel-good wellness retreat. It was a luxury men's grooming lounge downtown. A place where men like Theo got beard trims and poured whiskey while being told they smelled like ambition. I knew because I'd once walked by it after getting a tire changed, and they wouldn't even buzz me in. I was wearing cargo shorts and smelled like coolant fluid. Not the target demographic, apparently. So why was my wife meeting someone named Theo there? And why was she labeling it under wellness? I clicked into her notes app. It shouldn't have still been synced, but there it was, a list titled, "My Exit Plan Old Key." I froze. It was dated 6 weeks ago. Bullet points, like a military op. Transfer car insurance to my name only. Set up Venmo separate from joint account. Schedule fake therapy as cover. Use Sasha's number. Talk to Theo timeline. Darvin equals emotionally checked out. Play victim if needed. I didn't feel my body for a second. It was like I'd left myself. She'd planned this. Not just emotionally detached, but premeditated detachment. She wasn't reacting to a failed marriage. She was building her escape like a soldier mapping a war zone. And worst of all, she had written my name down like I was a problem to be managed. Play victim if needed. Those words will be on my brain until I die. I could barely breathe, but I couldn't stop reading. The note continued. Remove old pics on Insta gradually. Ask Theo about short-term lease options. Avoid confrontation. He folds too fast. Do not let him turn it around emotionally. Timing. After lashes, before Vegas trip. There it was again. Theo. Embedded in every line like he was part of the architecture. And suddenly, every random name, every vague girl's night, every new dress she bought without tags, it all painted the same picture. This wasn't about me being forgettable. It wasn't even about her finding something new. It was about control. And she thought I'd never find any of it. I sat there for hours, rereading every bullet point. My hands were trembling. Not from anger. I wasn't there yet. But from this strange sense of betrayal that didn't even have words. It wasn't cheating. It was conspiracy. It was character assassination with a glitter pen. And the worst part? I still missed her. Like some pathetic puppy who gets kicked and still waits by the door. I didn't eat that day. I didn't shower. I just stared at the wall while Millie, yes, the dog I swore I wouldn't come back for, snored beside me on Curtis's floor like nothing had changed. But everything had. And it was about to get worse. Because at exactly 11:17 that night, Retta texted me for the first time since I left. Hey, can we talk tomorrow? No explanation. No apology. Just that. And somehow, that message scared me more than everything else combined. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of anger. No, I wasn't there yet. But because my mind was spinning every possible version of tomorrow's conversation. I imagined her voice soft, apologetic, maybe even trembling as she confessed to everything. I pictured crocodile tears, a warm cafe setting, her reaching across the table pretending none of this was malicious, just confusing. The kind of line people use when they've already rewritten the story in their head to make themselves the hero. But deep down, I knew better. Retta was many things, but confused was never one of them. We agreed to meet at the Clover Cafe at noon. She picked the spot. Too public for a scene, too noisy for nuance. Classic move. Keep it clean. Keep it image safe. I got there early. Wore a shirt that didn't smell like Curtis's basement and tried to hide the bags under my eyes. She arrived 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, no hug, no small talk. Sat across from me like we were business associates about to negotiate a merger. She didn't even look tired, just polished. Lip gloss, perfectly steamed linen pants, and that same old rehearsed confidence she wore like perfume. Thanks for coming, she said, stirring a tea she didn't order. I had no idea where she got it from. I nodded but said nothing. Let her speak first. She leaned in slightly, like it made her more sincere. I didn't expect you to actually leave. I blinked. That was her opener? She kept going. Look, I know what I said. It was harsh, but it wasn't literal. It was heat of the moment stuff. You always overthink everything, Darvin. There it was. Gaslight level 1. Make me feel like I imagined the humiliation. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. The screen paused on her iCloud note titled My Exit Plan Old Key. She froze. Then she smiled. Not wide. Not guilty. Just amused. You went digging. I didn't speak. She leaned back. Fine. So I had thoughts. Plans. I was figuring out what I needed. That's not illegal, Darv. Who's Theo? I asked, even though I already knew. She took a sip of her tea, letting the pause sting. He's a friend. Someone I confided in. That you confided in over champagne and lobster while I slept in my car. Her jaw tensed, but her tone stayed calm. Too calm. I didn't cheat on you, Darvin. I made arrangements. There's a difference. That sentence cracked something inside me. Not because I didn't expect it, but because she genuinely believed it. She continued, You've been emotionally unavailable for years. I carried this marriage. I tried to light fires under us, and you just snuffed them out with your routine. You don't even notice when I get my hair done. When I wear new clothes. You didn't even ask me where I was when I came home late last month. Because I trusted you. I whispered. She looked away. For the first time, her facade slipped just a bit. That's not trust, Darvin. That's apathy. I laughed. Actually laughed. Quiet and bitter. So making an exit plan behind my back is the cure for apathy? She leaned forward again. You weren't listening, so I found someone who did. There it was. The heart of the knife. I sat there for a while, letting it burn. Watching people walk by outside like they were in another dimension where marriages didn't crumble over iced tea and veiled insults. Then I said the one sentence I never imagined would come out of my mouth. You can have him. She blinked, stunned for the first time. You made your plan, Retta. You executed it like a pro. I've seen enough. No therapy. No patching holes in a boat that's already sunk. We're done. She bit her lip, then looked down at her tea. And for the briefest second, I thought I saw her chin tremble. But she just nodded. Slowly. Coldly. Fine. Then let's make this clean. She got up without another word, leaving her half-full cup on the table. I didn't watch her walk away. I couldn't. But as I sat there, the waitress brought me the check. 2 teas, even though I never ordered one. And as I reached for my wallet, I noticed something sticking out of the sleeve of the receipt. A folded napkin, with a note scribbled in her handwriting. You don't know everything. I stared at that napkin like it had teeth. You don't know everything. 5 words, hastily scrawled in Retta's unmistakable handwriting. Not flowery or dramatic. Just sharp. Rushed, like she didn't want to write it but couldn't help herself. Like it needed to exist. The waitress hovered nearby, waiting to grab the bill. I paid in cash, left a tip big enough to quiet the questions, and slipped the napkin into my jacket pocket like it was contraband. I walked out of the Clover Cafe into a thick, muggy afternoon that felt heavier than the sky had any right to be. My thoughts were a tangled mess of bitterness, confusion, and something I hated admitting, curiosity. You don't know everything. I told myself not to care, to let it go. She said her piece. I said mine. Closure, right? But that note, it clawed at me. What didn't I know? What was so important she couldn't say it out loud? And why give me just enough to keep me circling? I got in my car and drove aimlessly for an hour, looping through neighborhoods that looked nothing like home and everything like escape. I stopped at a gas station, bought an energy drink I didn't need, and sat in the parking lot with the windows rolled down, letting the noise of traffic distract me. Then I made a decision I didn't think I would. I drove back to the house. Curtis warned me not to. He said I'd regret it. Said it was too soon. Said I was setting myself up for more humiliation. But I wasn't there to talk. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. All I knew was this. If Retta had secrets, and I had access, even temporary, I had to see what was left behind in the wreckage. When I pulled into the driveway, her car wasn't there. Good. The house looked the same from the outside. White siding, crooked mailbox, the porch light she always forgot to turn off during the day. But inside, the air felt colder, like something had been drained out of the walls. I didn't go upstairs. I went straight to the basement. See, most people forget the basement. But that's where she kept her archives, as she called them. Shoe boxes full of old notebooks, receipts, photos she never got around to scrapbooking. Retta was sentimental in a way that looked casual, but was methodical. She kept everything, even if she told you she didn't care about any of it. I flipped open a labeled box. Miscellaneous. Personal, 2022-inch. Inside, a receipt for a massage from a spa I'd never heard of. A card from someone named M. I didn't recognize the handwriting. A blurry photo of her with two women I'd never met, posing in front of a brick wall that said "Live Free." On the back, scribbled in blue pen, the night it all started. My blood chilled. I checked the date. It matched the week she went on that supposed girls' getaway she never posted about. The one she brushed off with a quick, "It was fine," when I asked how it went. Underneath the photo was something stranger, a key. Just a single, bronze key on a thin black ribbon. No label, no tag. I turned it over, hoping for some sort of marking. Nothing. My first thought was, storage unit. Retta always joked about having a backup plan in case the house ever flooded. But we didn't have a second unit. Or so I thought. I went back upstairs and opened her old laptop, the one she used for freelance design work. I doubted it still logged in automatically, but to my surprise, it did. The desktop was mostly clean, except for one folder tucked in the corner titled Wellness_2. Inside were PDF invoices, gym schedules, and a lease agreement. For a short-term rental unit. A one-bedroom, fully furnished apartment across town. Leased under the name M. Retta. Start date, 4 weeks ago. Expiration, this week. And then I saw the kicker. An attached receipt for a recently purchased storage unit, paid 3 months in advance. Unit number 47. I felt my breath catch in my throat. She was planning to move her life out piece by piece. Even the things I wouldn't notice right away, winter coats, heirloom plates, probably even the birthday gifts I bought her over the years. This wasn't just an escape. It was an erasure. I took a photo of the lease, wrote down the unit address, and as I stood there in the quiet, surrounded by her boxes of buried lies, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was her. Another text. Don't go looking for that key. Too late. By the time I reached the storage facility, it was already dusk. The kind of dusky blue that stains the sky right before it falls asleep. The air was heavy, like it knew I was about to open something that couldn't be undone. I hadn't answered Retta's last text. I didn't need to. She knew me well enough to understand that silence meant I was already halfway there. The facility sat on the edge of town, past the train tracks, next to a dog grooming place with boarded-up windows. The sign outside flickered with one missing letter, so it read Torridge, USA, which felt eerily appropriate. It was quiet. Too quiet for a Friday. No one in the office. Just a keypad on the gate and a paper sign that said, "Call office number if no one's here. Someone will be around." I typed in the code from the lease form. The gate slid open with a groan. Unit 47 was toward the back, second row from the right, wedged between two units that looked untouched in years. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. Something about this felt different. Heavier. Like it wasn't just a place to stash old dishes or a broken treadmill. The key slid into the lock with surprising ease. One click. No resistance. The door rolled up like a curtain. Inside was nothing I could have prepared for. First, the scent hit me, not of dust or mildew, but perfume. Familiar. The same one Retta wore to our anniversary dinner last year. It clung to the air like a memory that refused to fade. There were 5 large plastic bins stacked along one wall. A clothing rack on wheels. A small desk pushed into the corner with a decorative lamp, the same lamp from our bedroom. On top of the desk was a notebook. And beside that, taped to the wall, a series of printed photographs. My legs didn't want to move, but I made them. The photographs weren't just of Retta. They were of me. Different days. Different angles. Most taken through windows. One was of me asleep on the couch with Millie on my chest. Another, me mowing the lawn in my threadbare cargo shorts. One was clearly from inside my car, taken through the windshield. I recognized the cracked air freshener dangling in the corner. My stomach turned. Was she following me? Stalking me? Why? I flipped open the notebook. Pages and pages of dates. Observations. Names I didn't recognize, initials next to timestamps. One entry stood out. D didn't notice the envelope. Good. We'll give it another week before pulling the pin. T says not to overthink it. Pulling the pin? There was another entry below it. He's breaking down. I see it in his eyes. It's working. My hands started shaking. This wasn't just Retta documenting a breakup. It wasn't even about planning her escape. It was about manipulation. Intentional emotional demolition. She was watching me unravel and taking notes. I flipped to the last page, and for the first time, her handwriting was messy, like she'd been rushed or panicked. If he finds this, it's over. If you're reading this, Darvin, I didn't mean for it to go this far. And underneath it, taped with a single strip of clear tape. A second key. Smaller. Brass. Newer. No label. I stood there frozen, the key still pressed against the page. What else was there? What doors hadn't I opened? Was this connected to Theo? Was this entire breakdown of our marriage less about love lost and more about something else, something I hadn't even begun to understand? Then my phone buzzed again. A call. No name. Just a number. I hesitated. Answered. Silence on the other end. Then a voice. A man's voice. He told you not to look. The line went dead. I dropped the phone. Literally. It hit the concrete like a warning shot. My heart was hammering. My ears rang. This wasn't just about Retta anymore. There was someone else involved. And whoever he was, he didn't want me uncovering the rest. But I was past the point of fear. Past the point of retreat. There was another door to open. And now, I had the key. I didn't leave the storage unit right away. I just sat on the cold concrete floor, staring at that second key like it was burning a hole in my hand. My body felt like lead, but my mind wouldn't stop sprinting. Every breath echoed in that narrow space, bouncing off the metal walls, mixing with the faint perfume that still clung to everything Retta touched. I tried to think rationally. A second key. Smaller, newer, with sharper ridges. It wasn't for this unit. That much I knew. But if she taped it here, she wanted to keep it connected to this place. She wanted it hidden, but still accessible. And then there was the voice on the phone, that chilling warning. He told you not to look. That wasn't Retta. That was someone else, watching this unfold in real time. I left the unit with the notebook tucked under my jacket, locked the door, and sat in my car with the engine off, trying to decide what to do. I could have gone to the police, but what would I even say? Hi. My wife has a storage unit full of creepy notes about my life, and now I have a mystery key that might open something even worse. They'd pat me on the back, hand me a brochure about stress management, and send me home. Instead, I drove aimlessly again, the way I'd been doing all week. The streets blurred. I didn't even notice I was gripping the steering wheel so tight that my knuckles ached. By the time I realized where I'd ended up, I was parked outside the old Willow Street apartments, a rundown complex Retta used to joke about. She'd once said, "If we ever end up there, you'll know we've hit rock bottom." And yet, something about it pulled me in. I don't know if it was instinct or paranoia, but I got out and walked the perimeter. Half the units looked abandoned, blinds crooked, mailboxes stuffed with old flyers. But one corner door, apartment 2B, had a brand new lock. Fresh brass, same shade as the key in my hand. I stood there in the dim orange glow of a flickering streetlight, my heartbeat practically shaking the key as I slid it into the lock. It turned smoothly, like it belonged. The door creaked open. The apartment was bare, almost empty. But not the kind of empty you see when no one has moved in yet. This was staged emptiness, intentional, sterile, as if someone had stripped away anything that could leave fingerprints. A mattress on the floor, a lamp in the corner, a stack of folded blankets, and on the table in the center of the room, a single manila envelope. It had my name on it. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, and picked it up. My hands shook as I pulled out the contents. Inside were photographs. Not of me this time. Of Retta. With Theo. Different places. Restaurants. Hotel lobbies. Even one of them standing by the car I used to drive her to work in. They weren't posed. Either. They were candid, almost surveillance style, like someone else had been watching them. Mixed in with the photos were receipts. Hotel bookings. Plane tickets. A rental agreement for a car in Theo's name. All meticulously documented. Whoever put this envelope together wasn't just snooping. They were building a case. And at the bottom of the pile was something that made my skin crawl. A typed page. Bold letters at the top. Termination agreement. Below it, clauses and conditions, written in cold, legal language. The subject line read, "If subject D becomes aware prematurely, my initials. D. Darvin." I read on, each line sinking deeper into me like ice water. It wasn't about divorce. It wasn't about splitting assets. It was about controlling the fallout. About making sure if I found out too early, if I tried to fight back, there were contingencies. Clauses about psychological destabilization and narrative management. This wasn't just an affair. It was a setup. My head was spinning. The floor felt unstable, like I was walking on water instead of linoleum. I shoved everything back into the envelope, my hands trembling so hard I nearly tore the edges. I had to get out of there. But as I turned to leave, the lamp in the corner buzzed faintly. It wasn't just a lamp. It was a hidden camera. And the red light on the side told me one thing. Someone had been watching me the whole time. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I didn't even unplug the lamp. I just stared at that tiny blinking red light, blinking back at it like a challenge. Let them watch. Let them see the face of the man they tried to erase, still breathing, still standing, still holding their secrets in a trembling fist. Then I walked out. I didn't look over my shoulder. Didn't take anything but the envelope. Whatever game they were playing, it was already over. The moment Retta left that napkin, the moment she warned me, she cracked. That wasn't part of the plan. Whoever was behind this had underestimated one thing, her guilt. And guilt, no matter how carefully a story is scripted, always leaks. Back at Curtis's place, I sat on the porch as the sun began to rise. Pale orange light stretching across the sky like it was erasing the whole awful week behind me. For the first time in days, I breathed without a knot in my throat. I didn't go nuclear. I didn't blow it all up online or send the photos to her boss or print the receipts and mail them to her mother. I could have, believe me, I wanted to. But revenge? That would keep me tied to the wreckage. Instead, I called a lawyer. A quiet one. Smart. Calm. The kind of guy who wears the same tie to every meeting and never forgets a comma. I showed him the documents. The photos. The surveillance lamp. His eyebrows barely moved, but his voice dropped a note lower when he said, "This isn't just divorce material. This is leverage." That same day, we drafted the paperwork. Quietly, strategically, and with full protection. I didn't tell Retta. Not yet. I let her make the next move. 3 days later, she showed up at Curtis's door. No makeup, no sunglasses. Just her and a single reusable grocery bag of my things. She looked smaller, like the weight of it all had finally pressed down on her. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. There were recordings. From the apartment. The unit. Stuff Theo kept. I don't even know why. Maybe insurance. Maybe to control me too. Her voice cracked. "I was stupid, Darvin. I thought I was winning something." I nodded, took the drive, and set it on the table without looking at it. She looked up at me. "You're not going to destroy me?" I almost laughed. "You already did that yourself." She started to cry. Soft, guilty tears. I didn't comfort her. That wasn't my job anymore. Instead, I stood up and said the words I'd been waiting to believe. "I forgive you, but I'm done, and I'm finally free." She nodded, wiped her face, and left without another word. That was the last time I saw her. 2 months later, I had a new place. Small, clean, quiet. Millie snores at the foot of my bed every night. Curtis and I built a makeshift deck in the backyard out of reclaimed wood, and sometimes we sit there watching the sunset, not talking much. That's enough. The lawyer handled everything. Retta signed. Theo vanished. I never heard from him again. Maybe he knew the walls were closing in. Maybe he saw something in my silence that scared him more than anger ever could. The flash drive? I never watched it. Some things aren't meant to be relived. Some doors, once closed, need to stay that way. But I did keep one thing from that whole ordeal, the very last page of her notebook. Not for revenge, not to dwell, just to remind myself how far I'd come. Because she was right about one thing. I didn't know everything. But now, I know who I am without her. And that man, the one I became through all the quiet pain, the sleepless nights, the broken illusions, he's not replaceable. Not in a day. Not ever.